All right. Well, hello, everybody. We're very excited to get started today. We've got some great presenters today for our webinar. I'm very excited for us to be going over all of this. Today's topic is maximizing Google Ads and ROI, leveraging machine learning to navigate Google's black box. So it should be a great webinar. Like I said, we've got some great people on the board today, and hopefully some will be joining us shortly as well. So first up, we've got Adam Kushner. I've actually known Adam for over a decade. We haven't kept in contact that whole entire time, but back in my day when I was at Demand Force, his family shop back in the day was actually a customer. So that's when I met him, probably back in 2011. He is the owner of Business Actualization and pretty much just an auto repair shop guy for life, really just working with shops to help them grow their businesses the best that they can. And you know, he's got over 25 years of marketing experience. A lot of that is focused around Google and SEO and helping, drive car count for shops and maximizing their marketing dollars. So Adam, really glad to have you here as well. We've got Joe Fender as well. Joe is the digital marketing project manager at Business Actualization. And really his focus as well, helping auto repair shops grow, super passionate about digital marketing. And his primary focus as well is on paid advertising and Google SEO. Some of the things that we're going to focus on today is sort of how much should I be spending on Google Ads? What's the best way to track Google ad performance? What's the difference between Google Ads and Google SEO, as well as like some of the changes that have come up recently, because obviously things are constantly and always changing within this space. And so it's really important to be kept up to date, because what is valid and what works 5 months ago is certainly what is not going to work 5 months from now. We're joined with shop owner Fred Guestwicki, and he's going to be hopping in and helping us out with things and making fun of Joe and Adam along the way. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to pass things over to Joe and Adam. As always, if you guys have any questions, please put them into the chat at the bottom of the screen. And otherwise, without further ado, I'll let you guys take it away. So thanks for being here, everyone.
Yeah, definitely excited to be here. And we love talking about Google Ads. And maybe to circle back to my family shop. And I remember 20 years ago when Google Ads launched, when I walked into a 20 group meeting with a bunch of shop owners and said, everybody just leave and go home and start a Google Ads account. It's the most important thing that you'll do. And it's crazy to say that, 20 years later, here we are, but, built my family's business by leveraging Google Ads, over the years and creating a system for driving leads to the business. And now we love doing that for shops all over the country.
Awesome.
And go for it, Joe.
Cool. Yeah, just wanted to jump in. It's great to be here. Looking forward to talking about Google Ads, looping Fred in, and ultimately having a discussion. Answering questions, and looking forward to exploring Google's black box. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide, which what are we referring to when we talk about Google's black box? Just the idea that Google isn't going to tell us everything about their search algorithms, things that will ultimately affect business performance. So, things like algorithm changes, updates, down to Google Ads specifically when we think about competition in your local area bidding on the same keywords as you. All of the dynamics that go into Google's ad auction and how do we get those ad placements. Google doesn't tell us everything. So I'll pass off to Adam to kind of build on that. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, well, and on the opposite side of the relationship, being the business owner and spending money on marketing and looking to get results, for the money that you're investing. I'm sure everyone's heard in the news about the $2.1 billion building that Google's buying in Manhattan. And, that's where Google's fortune, started from and came from, was that ad revenue. And, it's our goal to give Google the least amount of money possible while still growing our client's business. And Google makes it really easy for any kind of business owner to give them money through automation and, easy ways to start an ad account. And there's a lot more that goes into it, unfortunately. And it's really easy to spend money very unwisely. And part of that is, that black box and how, the how ambiguous Google is with some of the things that they do, and making sure that we're on top of that. And I remember on day one, I was managing a Google Ads account myself while running an automotive repair shop, and today I would never do that. Just within the strategies that we implement and the team and industry experts and the levels of technology that are required to beat Google, at the game of giving them too much money. And then also making sure that we can track and look at the results that we're generating. And moving on to the next slide and looking at what goes on inside of Google, and just things like those smart bidding tools where they make it easy with built-in automation to kind of give Google the reins and run with an ad spend budget. And some things that we're seeing right now with Google opening up targeting, and maybe it's because of lack of advertising revenue over the past almost 2 years now with the pandemic. But they've opened it up, and we're seeing more and more when we have a negative keyword in an account, and we're telling Google never serve an ad if this word is present in a search term that someone's typing into the search engine, and Google is still showing an ad. And whether it's lack of other advertisers, in that auction, or it's Google putting money into their pocketbook. And Google always says that they want to do what's in the best interest of the advertiser, as well as in the best interest of the consumer. And a lot of times we laugh at that statement today because it's just hard to believe that it's true with some of the things that we do. And it's staying on top of Google and what's going on inside of that black box that they're never going to tell us about, so that we can make sure that we're spending money in a wise way and that it's generating results for the advertiser.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a really nice segue into our next slide here. Talking about the level of expertise that we manage our campaigns and leveraging essentially everything that Google has to offer. When we think about it holistically, Google will ultimately end up rewarding your business for taking advantage of as many different features inside of not just Google Ads, but an example is Google My Business posting, and I could go down the entire rabbit hole. But the idea is that the more that you take advantage of in Google's platforms, the better performance is likely to be. We don't have to spend too much time getting too deep into the mechanics of Google Ads, but just to kind of keep it high level. And Adam, feel free to jump in here. Starting with search campaigns, when we think about keyword targeting. So oftentimes you'll hear marketers referring to targeting at the keyword level. There's different levels of intent. So you have to think, if somebody's searching auto repair, they could be looking for service, or they could be looking for information on a blog maybe, versus if somebody searches auto repair near me, there's far more intent. So we want to target keywords that have high intent, the longer tailed bottom of the funnel searches. That's where we find qualified buyers, qualified clicks, but that's also where the clicks are most expensive. So I'll pause there. Definitely looking forward to touching on display and a new campaign type, local search campaigns. Adam, anything to add there?
Well, definitely, search campaigns. I mean, I would say that's where the most liability in Google Ads is, and that it's really easy to spend money on things that are not relevant to you at all. And whether that is someone looking for parts or looking for how to repair something, and you end up showing ads because of a lack of detailed targeting in a campaign or a lack of negative keywords. So that's definitely the spot, as opposed to display campaigns, where it's the most cost-effective marketing that you can do in Google Ads, because you're only paying when someone clicks. So you can have brand awareness touch points, with that target market, and whether that's in market for automotive service, using the big data sets that Google is to understand who would be relevant for that audience, loading in competitors and Google showing you the keywords that people are using to arrive on their websites, and then building an audience of those people. Joe, like Joe said, not to get too technical, but I think it's good to take a step back and talk about the different campaign types in Google Ads, just to have an understanding. If you're working with a marketing company and you've checked that box of I'm implementing Google Ads, and I have a marketing company that's doing it for me, but just auditing what that strategy is, and that they're taking advantage of all of the campaign types that are available. And local search campaigns is a newest campaign type, where Google is essentially segmenting out something that's always been there with an ad extension in a search campaign and moving it over into a new bucket and its own campaign type, and making sure that you're taking advantage of that, because that's another spot where we were blown away by the impressions that we were getting for our clients when we first launched them. In the millions of impressions for minimal investment, because of how cost effective it was to implement that, and because we were taking advantage of a new feature that Google wanted adoption for, and favoring advertisers that are doing that.
Yeah, just to jump in there, that's exactly right. Google has since kind of scaled that back, but going along with the idea of when Google offers something new, the early adopters are always, well, I don't want to say always, but the early adopters taking advantage of these tools from Google, they tend to make out pretty well. And kind of just to bring this, all back to a high level discussion of why are these ad campaign types important, and it's because it allows us to understand the difference between brand awareness marketing and direct response marketing. And direct response are search campaigns. Somebody that is searching auto repair near me, you pay a lot to generate that click, but that person is generally at the bottom of the funnel and they're ready to call your shop and make an appointment. On the display side, we get much better targeting, but those people aren't searching directly for you. We're targeting based on demographics and previous website visitors and many different demographic factors. So it's very valuable and cost effective to serve those brand awareness ads, in addition to direct response, where now you are creating a holistic system where you're taking advantage of all of these strategies.
Fred, how far out is your shop scheduled right now?
I'm about a week right now. I'm slightly understaffed. Yeah, I'm about a week to a week and a half out, depending on whether it's an oil change or drivability, depending on the level of work.
And, we're seeing that a lot right now. I know I dropped my secondary vehicle off at my family shop for a Pennsylvania state inspection this past weekend, and basically got laughed at that, maybe I'll see it in a month. Maybe I'm deprioritized a little bit, but we're seeing that with clients all over the country. Overcapacity, trying to get all the bays full of productive technicians is a challenge for everyone. And what I'm leading into is if you're booked out and you're spending money on advertising, or you're asking yourself the question, why should I do Google Ads? I don't need to do advertising right now. And these are conversations that we're having more than ever with clients. And it really just goes to that brand awareness marketing and making sure that you're putting yourself in front of your ideal customer, because those people, even in a search campaign, even the people that are going to Google and searching for the best automotive repair shop, may not be in the market to buy today. And we've seen that conversion window from a click on an ad to a conversion of an invoice in a shop be as far out as 90 days. So not advertising today can really come back and bite you in what can be traditionally a seasonal slow time in many areas at this time of the year. And it's, priming the pump with keeping top of mind awareness with your ideal audience and even your existing customers, so that when they go back to search, that your competitor is presenting themselves, to your customers, and we have the potential to have, customers stolen from us. But display marketing and those local search campaigns, if you're not doing Google Ads at all, it's a very cost-effective way to dip your toe into the water, to start to market. If you've never had a Google ad account, I see a Google ad account and many other things like analytics or search console. It's an asset of your business. And starting to build a relationship with Google as an advertiser is an important thing, to the point where there's targeting features that Google's taken away over the years for advertisers that are not spending money or developing that relationship of trust. One of those is targeting existing customers, where Google locked down that feature that was just always available, and now you've got to spend $50,000 in lifetime ad spend in your account to unlock that feature for most advertisers. And we see it all the time when a client is with a marketing company that controls their Google ad account and will not release it to them if they leave that marketing company. And that's a really sad thing in my mind, because that's an asset of that business. And building that credibility with Google by starting with display campaigns today is a really cost-effective way to do it, so that when you do want to ramp up the results that you need from your marketing, that you can easily do that. I like to use the example of going to a car auction and buying cars, where if it's your first time at the auction and you've never bought a vehicle there, and you're standing in a lane with other buyers that are buying hundreds of thousands of dollars of cars per week, and you're raising your hand to bid on a vehicle, that auctioneer might look right past you and look at that other buyer that has built that relationship with the auction of being a credible buyer that is going to spend money. And that's what can happen in Google Ads as well. So cost effectively starting to build that relationship with Google today, even if you are over capacity right now in your shop, is a really good idea.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of just to build on the idea that the marketing that we're doing now is going to affect sales 30, 60, 90 days from now. And brand awareness marketing is really one of the most cost effective and one of the more ideal places to work leads through your funnel, because no matter where that lead is initially discovering your business, it takes a long time to sometimes work that lead through the funnel, and continuing to serve ads on the same devices with display marketing is a really great option. Kind of moving on to the next slide that we have here, tracking Google Ads results.
Sorry, Joe,
just
I'm going to interrupt. And
yeah.
I saw a comment from Fred, so let's get
Yeah.
him the mic quick.
Go back a slide.
Sure.
Because my comment, you guys speak another language, and I think you know that. You know what I mean? You guys speak Google Ads geeky language, which is incredible, because I don't speak it, and I'm not going to learn it. So there's guys like you, business actualizations can turn what you want to happen into Google language. I love what you said, Adam. It's a relationship. You can't print money with Google Ads. You can't. It's a multifaceted thing. And I just wanted to add, like, in my head, looking at this, whenever we started our relationship, I was thinking, how come we can't target exactly who I want? And I thought of twins that I know. In Ohio, where I'm from, there's Twinsburg. It's the most twins of anywhere in the United States. And you can have twins with the same exact genetic coding that when they go to search for somebody, they're going to type in different terms. There's a human factor. So what Google Ads does, and with you guys at Business Actualizations, you take it 3 levels further, is you try and predict all the possible actions that the query person is going to put, the searcher, the customer is going to put into Google. And then you try and predict how we can get them to react in a way that they're a qualified buyer that's ready to go to the site and make a decision, or somebody that's just in the research phase that's not ready for a while, or someone that's just curious. So we're trying to take all the human factors in the world and tie them to a computer algorithm so that you can deliver the right content about your shop to the person when they're ready to receive it. And I just wanted to tie that together from Google Ads language to English. That's actually what you're describing. Am I right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And going back to the black box theory with Google, Google tries to tell us that they know who they should be serving ads to and who our target audience is. And I mean, I call BS on that all day long. Especially with, my history with my family shop and being a specialty shop where, 20 years ago, we were only working on Volvo and Saab.
Mm-hmm.
And, for Google to say, that they know who our target audience is. They have no idea, let alone, I'm sure we all know there's sob customers that we do not necessarily want in our shop.
Or miss.
um,
And Adam, the term black box, I like the term black ball. And here's why. If I rotate the box, you can tell I'm changing it. But if it's a black ball, you don't know where Google's spinning it, which side is facing you. You don't even know, because it's a disorienting box. It's constantly changing, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Just wanted to throw that at you, brother.
Alex on our team
Good.
is in the room. Write that down for us, Alex, please.
Just wanted to inspire, man.
So Fred, what's your primary KPI for marketing in general?
The number one source for me is new customer acquisition. Number two is reason they came back. And the reason that's important is, as you know, getting a customer's hard. Yeah, so hard. But once you get them, you're not going to retain them all. You can try all you want. You're not going to. We got to get them a second time. And even then, you're still going to fight. That third time is gold for me. That's my goal, is get you to the third visit, because then the work becomes easier. It's easier for them to call you your mechanic. They're my mechanic once you get to that third or fourth visit.
Yeah. So if I came to you and said that I delivered you X amount of impressions that resulted in X amount of clicks, would you say, oh yeah, well, that probably resulted in this amount of new customers from impressions and clicks? Or would you say that I'm talking Google Ads lingo BS?
No, see, you went to English for that, because, well, and a lot of the shop owners in here are not going to always know the right terms. I know I struggle with that, and I'm computer fluent, but yeah, if we have this many impressions, this many phone calls, and then I'm seeing the Google ads show up on my phone, my computer when the phone's ringing, I'm putting them in as a source of Google, so I can know how many of those turned in, and I can get the ROI of how much they spent versus what I spent, and see how much money I made from that investment.
Yeah. And, that's where what I was trying to lead into, and Fred gave me his marketing lingo version of an answer. If we can make the phone ring, you've got a qualified sales process on the other end of the phone, right? If the phone's ringing, you're answering the phone, and you have a salesperson that's going to build a relationship with the person on the other end of that phone, right? And with that, it's why I love Google Ads, I guess, because you can make that connection. And maybe it's only, I like to say it's a sampling of data, because attribution is dead, because that person that came in and they said, well, I found you on Google, but maybe you mailed them a postcard, maybe a friend told them about you, and then they went to Google and then they searched for you, and they're telling you that they found you on Google, and we still don't know how they found you, because it could have been Google Ads, it could have been local search, it could have been a map result where you showed up on the map. And if they click on that ad, then you're going to give Google Ads credit. And that's where I go to, it's a sampling of data in any kind of marketing dashboard that you're looking at, and the amount of phone calls that you're generating from any lead source. Even if it's somebody walking into your office with a postcard that you mailed to them, it took multiple touch points with that person to get them to make the decision to do business with you. And it's that complete system with your marketing. But with Google Ads, that's a primary thing that I look at, is, are we generating valuable phone calls? And if we're generating valuable phone calls, and we can trust that our client has that qualified sales process at the other end of the phone, then we've got that symbiotic relationship of growing our client's business. And it's definitely, with Google Ads, again, it's easy to spend money and not get a lot of return on investment if it's not being managed effectively, or if it's not being tracked and you understand what you're getting for your money. So definitely, if you're running Google Ads, make sure that you've got a really good call tracking platform set up, so that you can track that click on an ad and visit to a website back to Google Ads, so you know what's working and so you know what's not working, right, Fred? So when you're getting those phone calls and it's somebody that's not relevant to you, that Google thinks that they know that the person is relevant to you, that we can pivot and adjust, right?
Yeah, we can just mark it as unqualified in the call platform.
Yeah. And then we can take that data back to optimize.
Yep. Did you got to tell? No computer's going to know Until you get them on the phone, they could be the nicest searcher in the world. Until you get them on the phone and find out they do not want your business, you're not going to know. You've got to give it some kind of feedback, some kind of monitoring and input.
Definitely agree. And making that connection between marketing and sales is just so important. And we've got like fancy terms like in Google Ads marketing, like ROAS, and how much money you're making from the money that you're spending in Google Ads. And it's not a primary metric that I like to look at, because once we hand off that phone call to the shop, then we're putting our trust in that sales process and those salespeople to take it home and to convert that customer and to get them in. So it's got to be that relationship of working together between a marketing company or an advertising company and with a sales team on the other end of the phone for it to work and for the investment to pay off.
Yeah, definitely. And another advantage with call tracking and recording, beyond just being able to segment the results that you're generating from Google Ads, is if you have these call recordings as a shop owner, you can use it as a sales tool to work with your service advisors to make sure that the right steps are being taken, and that person is answering the phone in a way that you would expect them to, that represents your brand and is able to get that person in the door. So just a key distinction there. And really, call tracking, just to kind of echo Fred and Adam, it really just comes back to being able to define that ROI, being able to say, this is how many first-time phone calls over 30 seconds, for example, or first-time phone calls over 2 minutes, or whatever the example looks like. Really leveraging data and call recordings. We get names of customers, for example, where it makes it very easy to go back and track that back to a closed invoice. And that's when you have that calculated system like we're talking about.
And that example of giving Google the least amount of money possible. When we have a client that comes to us and they say, I need more phone calls, and we look at that we have a functioning system in Google Ads, that we've got that input of ad spend and that output of valuable phone calls, and that the account is optimized and the system is working. And then we, on our side, I'll dive in and listen to phone calls and looking at our call tracking platform. Is the phone being answered every time it rings? Do we have a qualified sales process on the other end of the phone? And then advising and consulting and working with the shop of, look, we've got to work on our sales process, because we're giving Google money to make the phone ring, but we're not converting those leads. And another part of that relationship with someone that is implementing Google Ads for your business is making sure that they see that big picture, and that they're going to participate in the relationship, in the way that they're protecting the investment that you're making with your marketing budget. On the next slide, we kind of go into a quote of how much of the search engine market Google controls. And in looking at something that we've been talking about for a content topic in general is, what would you do if Google went away tomorrow? And what would that look like for your business? And though maybe it's unlikely that Google's going to go away, or that Google Ads is going to shut down, or that it's not going to be this awesome thing that we think it is, Google just launched a 3 strikes rule, where if you violate what Google says you should be doing in an account, that they're going to shut your ad account down and you're never going to be able to advertise again. And what would that look like for your business? We see it where thankfully not under our management, that a Google ad account is shut down, and it's that black ball of, we don't even know why. The client doesn't even know why. They don't know if it was a previous marketing company that what they were working with that did something that rubbed Google the wrong way, and that's why Google shut down their ad account. But what would that look like for your business if you couldn't market on Google and it was a primary lead source for your business? And making sure that you look at diversification, because there's other things out there, like Bing ads, that is still direct response. I personally do not consider Facebook ads as being direct response marketing, but for brand awareness marketing, it has a fit. Things that are sold in the automotive industry as geofencing or programmatic, what we call people-based marketing, and making sure that you're diversifying in that way. It's hard for me to talk about direct mail because I've never been a fan of direct mail. Maybe I'll hand that off to Fred and get his 2 cents from a shop owner perspective, but it's a fit in some markets for some business models to have a potential touch point with someone that you may not be reaching digitally. So diversification is important, because if your ad account was shut down, what are you going to do to continue to grow your business?
Well, and just like you said, there's all the different styles of Google ads, display ads, targeted ads, ads that go to phone calls, ads that go to your website. There's all these kinds of ads. What about the person that doesn't use Google? That's some, it's not the majority. What about the people that have non-smartphones? We call them dumb phones. Or the people that use DuckDuckGo as a search engine. Take your pick. I think when you go to marketing, there's no true answer. There's not a single answer, because if there was, someone would have figured it out and marketed the living crap out of it, because they would know how. And we're looking for this magic bullet that doesn't exist. So, doing every door direct mail is great. It's a part of your marketing. The more marketing you do, the more customers you will get. And it just depends, because where I'm at, and you guys know this at BA, it's a weird market. It's a really, really awkward market. And then some other places, maybe primarily where Google's the only thing that works and direct mail doesn't. My area, it's a little blend of both. It just kind of depends. If you don't try it and measure it and get an ROI and have KPIs associated with it, you'll never know if it works. For us, direct mail doesn't work as well as electronic for my target demographic. I've defined who my customer is, I've defined their experience, and when I direct mail, I get a very low return on that. So I choose to do very minimal direct mail, but I still do it some, just enough to get some of that brand awareness and those touch points like you described, Adam.
So jumping into some takeaways before we go to a little bit of Q&A. In most markets, the potential is almost limitless. There are abnormalities. I've got a shop owner friend that has dabbled in Google ads from time to time, and it's like a weird geographic bedroom community where everyone has a flip phone or something. It's one of those markets. I don't know. But in most markets, the potential with Google ads, and whether it's just in search campaigns or, Fred, even if they're not on Google and we're advertising on the display network, so we're reaching them on properties other than Google properties with ads, the potential is limitless, and that's why we call it part of the core marketing foundation for an automotive repair shop. It's a fast, mobile-friendly website that represents your brand and resonates with your target customer. And from there, it's local search optimization, generating reviews consistently over time, local listings that you're up to date and present everywhere on the internet. And then from there, it's Google ads all day long until we've maximized the potential of what we can do in Google ads, and that we're looking at diversification into other marketing sources. But it's, I like to say I put the local Volvo dealer to my family's business out of business by stealing all of their service work by marketing on Google ads and reaching that target customer.
Yeah, definitely. And, with Google ads, it's one of those things that we can throttle up and throttle down as desired. We really leverage data to kind of guide that decision making where, we can evaluate for what you're targeting. This is essentially your market share. Evaluate things like, if we did nothing but increase the budget, how much more market share would I gain from that? We really let the data, guide those decisions, kind of like I was just covering. It just becomes very calculated, where it becomes something that just makes sense to keep spending because, the return on ad spend over time, consistently leveraging Google Ads just makes a lot of sense for a lot of auto shops.
And then the last thing there is, there's more options than what's baked into Google Ads and the tools that they give you to optimize ad spend budget and to implement a campaign. And that's kind of where I go back to, I managed Google Ad campaigns for an automotive repair shop when I was running an automotive repair shop, but I would never do it today because of how the platform and the systems have evolved over time, that it takes, layers of technology for building and optimizing, and a team, of experts that are invested in staying at the forefront of Google Ads. And we look at things like we were talking about it internally, what if Google just optimized everything and you didn't need those a third party to help you to implement it, which I think is unlikely because of the partner network that Google has. But diving into the partner network, it's not something that we focus on a lot at Business Actualization. It's in my opinion, it can be a reward system for spending money. So you're rewarded for spending the most amount of money with Google, and making sure that you're working with a partner that has your best interest in mind, and looking at your investment in ad spend as you would as investing in anything else. That you're working with someone that you can trust, that is invested in staying at the forefront, and is managing your money well. And I don't see that as being in the Google network, that you've got to have someone auditing what's happening. That's not being rewarded by spending more money with Google. So talking about money, we get the question a lot, and I know that years ago, Fred probably asked us how much money he should spend on Google Ads and what is the perfect number. And there's not really a perfect number for that, and every situation can be different. Yeah, go for it, Fred.
So exactly what you said. You didn't tell me how much to spend, because you can't just know. What I know now is linearly, as I spend more, how much more activity and impressions and clicks and calls I'll get. And I also know at what point it's going to start to peak out. So I know what I can do with my budget to control the volume of activity in my shop from my Google Ads. And it's dependent on what I need for activity and car count. I try and keep it static. I know Google doesn't mind if they have a static amount of income. They know what's coming. They're not going to penalize me for spending the same money every month. Am I right, Adam?
I would agree with that. Yeah.
And I believe you told me before, don't just shut your ads down to like $20 one month. Don't just tell Google like, this month I'm not going to give you any money. I've got enough customers. And the next month's like, oh, I'm going to give you $2,000. Like, it's not where you can turn it up and down. Am I correct in understanding that's part of the relationship?
Well, I mean, you can definitely move ad spend budget around as much as you would like to. I mean, you could do it on a daily basis. We leverage software that optimizes the way that we spend money, in addition to having a human intervention in managing that money and how it is spent. But I think it just goes back to that example of, if you're not doing marketing this month because your bays are full and you're scheduled out a week or 2 weeks, that can be detrimental, a month or 3 months from now, from those consumers that you are not building a relationship with by touching them with ads and touching them with your marketing. So it's important to continuously market, and having that sampling of data for the results that you are getting in the way that you can track it is definitely important. And if we're just looking at brand awareness marketing in those, search campaigns or the local campaigns, it's a hell of a lot more cost effective than talking to a direct mail company about spending thousands of dollars a month because you've got to send someone more than one postcard to have a conversion. Whereas in Google Ads, we're getting that impression for free in a display campaign. Unless someone clicks on the ad, we're not paying. So if you're not doing Google Ads at all, I would highly recommend that you look at just getting started with display campaigns and local search campaigns to start to be present in the Google Ad network, with those customers that you're potentially not touching at all right now. And so we've got what's the best way to track Google Ads performance, and we've kind of touched on that. And looking at those qualified phone calls, that it's not, when we look at auditing a Google Ad account just from a consulting relationship and working with the shop owner to make sure that their marketing is being implemented effectively, and the only data that they have are the impressions and clicks that they're getting. And I just throw that data out, as being something that we can look at. We can't validate that your Google Ad account is working for you if we're only looking at impressions and clicks. That it's got to be more than that. It's got to be looking at, what I think is the most valuable thing that we can do for an automotive repair shop: make the phone ring. And next up, we have I tried Google Ads for a while and got nothing. So what was wrong?
I did the same thing. I did the same thing, Adam, before you knew me. I spent $400 in a month and got nothing. I just threw it in the air, let it fly away.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling I may have been competing with people like you that are super good at this, know what they're doing, and know how to win auctions at the right price. And I was just shotgunning money into the air. Google Ads is a full-time job. Would you recommend someone try and manage their own Google Ads campaign with no company, Adam and Joe?
I wouldn't do it if I was if I was not working at business actualization and helping shop owners, and I was running an automotive repair shop. I would not be managing a Google Ad campaign. And I think about it like sometimes I like to compare, managing a client's marketing budget is like managing their investment portfolio. And like, yeah, downloading an app and playing with, buying stocks, it can be fun, or entertaining. But you probably would not put your life savings into it, I hope. And try to manage, an investment portfolio at that level by yourself. Specialization is key, and having that trusted partner to work with, and trust and verify, but verify, that you're getting results from your money and that they're on the same page with you as to how to quantify what those results are. And yeah, if you've done Google Ads and you were just, spending money and hoping that you were getting a return on it, but not tracking it, you probably were getting something, Fred, right? Like you were still putting ads in front of, hopefully not people that were searching for lawnmower repair shops and stuff like that. It
definitely, let's just say it didn't produce a measurable customer. I definitely feel like I displayed my ads to not my customer more than I did my customer, because after learning how it's done correctly, watching how you guys do it, no, I definitely spent some money on people at 4 o'clock in the morning when I'm not open, and all those others, send people that search paint, and somehow I came up because I didn't know what I was doing. So it's definitely something I can't imagine trying to compete against you in a market with your company or any other Google Ads supplier. You'd have to do it as you're living. You have a whole company based on this. How could a shop owner try and compare to a whole, or compete with a whole team?
Yeah, definitely. Just from a software and technology perspective, the way that that we are managing campaigns, there's different levels of technology that for a shop owner to invest in would be cost prohibitive. From an agency perspective, it makes a whole lot more sense than making that investment for somebody to manage it in-house, for example.
When we see it, we see shop owners, come to us and they have a bad taste in their mouth for Google Ads. because they've been in that situation. I mean, Fred had a bad taste in his mouth from Google Ads, and it's like, why should I even do it?
Yep.
You know, I tried it and I didn't get anything, and you know, it's it just goes back to, you know, making sure that you've got a trusted partner that is implementing it, you know, or if, you know, you're a do-it-yourselfer and want to implement it yourself, that you're all in.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know, not staying up all night to learn Google Ads and how to optimize campaigns.
Is this
Hey,
like
Adam,
a shop?
It's
Adam, is
challenging.
this like a shop? A real quick thing, and then I actually got another meeting.
Yeah.
When you have a car and you want to fix your car and you go to a shop and they do a crappy job fixing your car, and to compare that to a shop that does a really good job fixing your car and compare that to doing it yourself, is it that exact analogy with ads?
I totally agree with that.
Because originally I was a DIY guy for a month. That $400 lesson I will never forget. Then I had another company for a year, and that was the bad shop. They weren't a bad shop. They just didn't know how to do ads. They don't know how to do alignments, but they can do oil changes. It sounds familiar. And then I finally found the shop that I can trust. And that might hit home for some of these shop owners as to how who manages your ads matters. A car is a car. It doesn't mean everybody can fix it. An ad's an ad. It doesn't mean everybody can produce the same quality Google ad result. Is that fair?
Oh yeah, that's spot on, Fred.
I got to bail, man. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank
See you, Fred.
So really quick, and then we can wrap up and give everybody some of their time back and let David take it home. But the last one we had is, what's the difference between Google Ads and SEO? And you know, search engine optimization is just looking at those organic search results. So trying not to get into marketing lingo, but on a search engine result page, we have multiple things that are going on. We have ad placements at the top, which are your Google Ads, and then we have organic listings. And you know, depending on the search, and not something that you should be showing an ad for, possibly, or even showing up organically, like info panels and things like that, and other placements on the search engine result, depending on what the search query was. You know, if you're looking for, you know, how to repair a BMW and whatever mechanical component in that search result, you're probably going to get YouTube videos. But you probably, you know, you probably don't want to show up for those because it might not be your target demographic. And then the other part of the search engine result page can be that map pack. So it's your local listing. So if there's local search intent in a search query, like best automotive repair shop near me, or near a geographic term, and we have a map panel that's showing that we're showing up there. And I guess going back to, you know, why should you do Google Ads? You know, if you have a very strong organic search presence, you know, why do Google Ads? Well, it's so that you can dominate your market. And, you know, I know that hits home with a lot of us because we're competitive as small business owners and we want to win. But dominating that search result page, if we can show up in an ad placement, in an organic listing, and in that map pack on the side of the page, and we have 3 touch points on that same page, it adds a lot of credibility to our business because we're present in all of those places and outperforming our competition in all of those places. So big differences between Google Ads and organic SEO, but both should be a focus of your strategy. You know, making sure that you're ranking organically, that you have reviews consistently over time so that you're going to perform in those local searches, and that you're running ads.
Well, I think you covered it. David, do we want to open it up for a few questions to wrap up?
Yeah,
here?
definitely. We'll see if there are any questions. I don't see any right now. I think you covered a lot of the, you know, the major ones that people would be asking.
Sure.
But I definitely want to, you know, just sort of recap some of the things that you said that I think are really important and that I've heard, you know, over a decade of being in this business is, if you can't track it and you can't measure it, then you have no real ground to stand to say on it's not working. And I think, people spend a lot of money on all sorts of things and they don't have any processes in place and they don't know what their KPIs are and they don't know what their goal is and what's considered success. And so they do all this and then they get XYZ and they're like, well, I don't know if that's good. And I think it's really important, if you're going to spend money on these types of marketing, that you say, okay, like, this is what I'm looking for. This is how I'm going to measure it. And if I get to this number, then it's successful. And if I get to this number, then it's mildly successful. And if it gets to this, it wasn't worth it. So I think a lot of people, like I said, just kind of go in without having a full plan and having a full understanding of how they're going to measure and what's going to be considered success. And then, you're just setting yourself up for failure at that point. One of the questions I did have was, the shops that you work with, what % of their business is coming from the internet? You hear all sorts of different figures and facts, and I'm sure it depends on what geographic region you're in. And if you're, out in rural area or versus, like a highly populated, major metropolitan area. But, from the customers that you're working with, what kind of business can, let's say someone in a major metro area, a San Francisco, a Dallas, New York City, Austin, what can someone expect to generate, what % of their business can they get from the internet, or how many new customers a month can they get for the internet, or what's some sort of stats around that you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, we have clients where the only marketing that they do is their website and Google Ads. They're organically generating reviews from customers by providing good service and asking for reviews. But yeah, we have very successful shops that's the only marketing that they do is within Google Ads. And it's definitely, if I was running my family shop today, it would be where a majority of my marketing budget would go to. And whether, that's all in the bucket of Google Ads or that diversification theory of looking at, some of the other ad platforms that are out there. But, direct response marketing, it doesn't get any better than Google Ads. Someone is going to the search engine and searching for an automotive repair shop, and you're putting your business in front of them. So it's, I would say for, the most successful shops out there in the 99% of the markets where Google Ads is a fit, that it's where a majority of their marketing budget is being spent.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good to know. I appreciate that. One thing I will mention, and this is, obviously you guys have an integration directly with Shop-Ware. And I assume, the major point of that integration is attribution, right? And so you guys are doing things and driving customers, and you need to be able to see if customers are actually coming in that are clicking on your ads and engaging with your business. And so I think, one thing I would say as we're talking about tracking is, whoever you're working with or however you're doing it, you need to make sure that your marketing agency is integrated with your shop management system, because the only way to truly see if things are working and tie it back to actual repair orders and actual dollars spent is to have some link between your marketing company and your shop management system where all that information is. And so I would assume you guys work with not just us, but a variety of systems out there because of that level of importance of having that integration between the two platforms.
Well, and it's great having a shop on Shop-Ware and a cloud-based management system. It's a sign of it that it's a progressive business owner, that's investing in their business and staying at the forefront, by working with progressive companies.
No, awesome. And
yeah,
that's how we view that as well. And that makes a lot of sense. Well, we're coming up on the hour. If there are, I guess one of the last question I would have just for our viewers that are here today, and once we post this on YouTube, like if people do have follow-up questions or they're interested in getting in contact with you or learning more about what you guys do and how you're helping shops, like what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Just going to our website and reaching out to us is great. And, we work with, some of the top consulting companies that are out there in the industry and work with shop owners all the time. And it's not just about a sale and getting someone to sign up, for Google Ads or any other service. We're happy to take a look at what you're doing with your marketing and advise you on it and offer you insight and help you to hold your existing partners accountable.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's very much, one of Shop-Ware's goal is just to move the automotive aftermarket forward, right? That's our all-encompassing view. And, if that means customers have questions and they're not using our product, like we're happy to speak to them. It's all about just like advancing things forward and making sure that we're building a good community and helping shops grow and thrive. So really appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for bringing Fred on. Without you guys, like we wouldn't have this amazing content to bring to our user group and our users. So thanks again for being here. I'll get this up on YouTube and send you the link when it's up there. And I will talk to you guys soon.
Awesome. Thank you, David.
All right, Joe, Adam, thank you. Take care.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.